Have you ever wondered why you feel so heavy inside, even when life on the outside looks fine? That weight you carry is not always physical. It's the unseen baggage, the silent load of unresolved thoughts, hidden stress, and emotional clutter that presses on your heart every single day. You may not even notice it at first, but it shapes the way you breathe, the way you think, the way you see yourself in the mirror. And the truth is, most of the heaviness in your life does not come from what you're doing. It comes from what you're holding on to. Every negative word you've replayed in your mind, every moment you've overanalyzed, every person who drained your energy but stayed in your world longer than they should have. These things build up, slowly, silently, and consistently. They collect like dust in corners of the soul until you start to feel exhausted by life itself. You might believe this is normal, that this pressure is just part of being human. But peace was never meant to feel so far away. Peace is natural. It is your birthright. And if it feels missing, it is not because you need to chase more. It is because you are carrying too much. Imagine this clearly. The mind is like a room. If that room is cluttered with broken objects, piles of old memories, and unnecessary distractions, how can you ever feel calm inside it? Yet this is how most people live, surrounded by invisible clutter that never leaves their thoughts. They try to solve it by adding more self-help tips, more strategies, more distractions. But the real solution is the opposite. It's not about addition. It's about subtraction. The greatest transformation begins when you let go of what does not belong. Psychologists call this the power of unfinished business. When you leave things unresolved, your mind never truly rests. That is why you feel restless at night. That is why your thoughts spiral when you are alone. Your brain keeps replaying what is left incomplete, what is left unhealed, what is left unspoken. And every single day, this invisible loop drains your energy and your focus. But when you remove what no longer serves you, your mind finds quiet again. Your heart finds clarity again. Your spirit finds strength again. Think about how light you would feel if you didn't have to carry old arguments, false expectations, or meaningless noise. Imagine waking up and breathing without the weight of yesterday pressing against your chest. That freedom is possible, and it begins with the courage to release. When you subtract what is unnecessary, you create space for what truly matters. Energy returns, focus sharpens, joy begins to flow again. And that inner calm you've been chasing finally feels real, not temporary. This is why the act of letting go is not weakness. It is wisdom. It is strength. It is a decision to no longer live as a prisoner of what is heavy and meaningless. And as you move forward, every step of release brings you closer to peace. Today can be the day you choose to carry less so that you can finally live more. Stay with me, because together we will uncover the exact weights you must quietly eliminate. By the time you finish, you will see clearly what has been blocking your peace, and you will know how to step into the lighter, freer, stronger version of yourself that has been waiting for far too long. Peace is not created by adding more routines, more commitments, or more layers of effort. True peace is revealed when you remove the unnecessary noise that hides it. The human mind thrives on simplicity, yet most people spend their lives complicating everything. They believe happiness is hidden in the next achievement, the next possession, the next recognition. But the more they add, the emptier they feel inside. That is because fulfillment does not come from accumulation. It comes from clarity. Your energy is like water in a cup. If you keep pouring into it without first clearing out what does not belong, it will overflow with confusion and waste. The same is true of your mind. When you hold on to things that no longer serve you, every new effort you make becomes diluted, weaker, scattered. This is why even when you work harder, you still feel stuck. The truth is, subtraction gives you more power than addition ever could. The act of removing what drains you multiplies your strength in ways that adding never will. There is a deep psychological shift that happens when you begin to let go. The brain is wired to seek novelty, to crave more, yet it finds calm only in simplicity. When you strip away the excess, your nervous system relaxes. Stress hormones decrease. Focus returns. You no longer live in constant fight or flight, reacting to every demand and distraction. Instead, you begin to move with intention, choosing carefully where your energy flows. That choice is where freedom is found. Think of how light it feels when you finish cleaning a space, when you finally remove what you no longer need. That sense of order is not just in your room, it is in your mind. And when your mind is clear, your heart follows. Clarity becomes your new strength. You begin to see opportunities you once overlooked. You begin to notice the beauty that stress once blinded you to. You begin to live in alignment with yourself instead of chasing 100 directions at once. The power of elimination is not about loss. It is about liberation. It is not about denying yourself, but about finally giving yourself space to breathe, to think, to be present. Every unnecessary weight you release creates room for purpose. Every distraction you cut away opens the door for deeper focus. Every toxic pattern you let go of returns a piece of your energy. When you learn the art of subtraction, you no longer feel like you are drowning in life. You begin to rise. Many believe that letting go will make their life empty. But emptiness is not the absence of worth. It is the canvas for possibility. When you clear what no longer belongs, you make space for what your soul has been longing for. Peace does not hide in noise. Growth does not hide in clutter. Both are revealed when the unnecessary is stripped away. This is the path of real transformation. It begins quietly, within you, and with every release you will feel the weight lift. With every step, you will feel more energy returning to you. With every decision to eliminate what does not serve your highest self, you are choosing the life you are meant to live. That is the silent power of elimination, the strength that transforms not by adding more, but by finally letting go. One of the heaviest weights you can ever carry is the presence of people who poison your peace. Toxic relationships do not always scream their damage. Sometimes they whisper it quietly through constant negativity, subtle disrespect, or manipulation that chips away at your confidence. They drain your energy without you realizing it, until one day you feel exhausted simply from being around them. And the most dangerous part is how easily you adapt to this burden, convincing yourself it is normal to feel small, anxious, or unworthy in the presence of another human being. The truth is, your nervous system responds to the energy of those around you through mirror neurons. Your brain absorbs the emotions you are exposed to most often. Spend enough time around anger, and you will carry it in your body. Spend enough time around fear, and your own spirit becomes hesitant and fragile. Spend enough time around someone who belittles you, and you begin to question your own worth. This is not weakness, it is biology. The human brain is designed to adapt to its environment, and if your environment is filled with toxicity, your inner world will reflect it. That is why protecting your peace sometimes means protecting your distance. It does not matter how long you have known them, how much history you share, or how many excuses you make for their behavior. What matters is how you feel after being with them. Do you feel uplifted, inspired, and alive? Or do you feel drained, silenced, and invisible? Your answer reveals everything. Walking away is not cruelty. It is self-respect. It is the recognition that your life is too valuable to waste in the presence of those who do not honor it. You do not owe anyone unlimited access to your mind, your heart, or your energy. Boundaries are not walls that shut the world out. They are gates that decide who is worthy of entering. And every time you choose to release someone who consistently harms your peace, you strengthen the message that your soul deserves better. Yes, it takes courage. Yes, it feels uncomfortable. But discomfort is a small price for freedom. The fear of letting go is often louder than the reality of it. Because when the toxic voices fade, you will hear your own voice again, clearer, stronger, and steadier than before. You will realize that peace is not found by fixing people who refuse to change. Peace is found by choosing yourself enough to walk away. Imagine the energy you would reclaim if you no longer had to defend yourself against someone's constant negativity. Imagine the confidence that would return if you no longer absorbed daily criticism disguised as care. Imagine the lightness that would rise inside you if you no longer felt the need to shrink to keep someone else comfortable. That is what awaits you on the other side of release. Life is too short to be lived in the shadows of toxic people. Every day you spend in their presence is a day of your light dimmed, and every day you choose to step away is a day your light shines brighter. Protect your peace, guard your energy. And remember this, walking away from those who harm your soul is not betrayal. It is the beginning of your true freedom. Some of the harshest poison you will ever face does not come from the voices of others, but from the voice inside your own mind. Negative self-talk is a silent destroyer. It convinces you that you are not good enough, not capable enough, not worthy enough. And the tragedy is that you start to believe it. You accept these lies as truth, and slowly they shape the way you see yourself, the way you act, and the way you live. The enemy is not always outside, it is often the whisper within. Every thought you repeat becomes a command to your nervous system. When you tell yourself you are weak, your body obeys by hesitating. When you tell yourself you cannot, your brain responds by shutting down possibilities. This is not imagination, it is psychology. Thoughts create emotions, emotions drive actions, and actions build your entire life. So when the voice inside your head is hostile, your entire life bends under its weight. But here is the deeper truth. That inner critic is not your real voice. It is an echo of every doubt you have absorbed, every failure you magnified, every criticism you never healed from. It is not who you are, it is who you were told to be. The real voice within you is still there, buried beneath layers of noise. It is calm, strong, and capable. And every time you silence the critic, that true voice grows louder. You must decide whose voice will guide your life. The one that tells you to shrink, or the one that reminds you that you are capable of growth. The one that focuses on mistakes, or the one that sees mistakes as lessons. The one that chains you to fear, or the one that frees you to try again. This choice is not made once. It is made every single day, with every thought you allow to stay in your mind. Rewiring this inner dialogue begins with awareness. Notice the language you use with yourself. Would you ever speak those words to someone you love? If not, then why do you allow them to live in you? Compassion must start from within. Speak to yourself with the same encouragement you would give a friend. Replace I can't with I am learning. Replace I'm failing with I'm growing. Replace I'm broken with I'm becoming. These shifts are not just phrases. They are new patterns that reprogram your brain, building resilience and self-belief. The more you practice empowering self-talk, the stronger your identity becomes. Confidence is not built in giant leaps. It is built in the small, consistent words you choose to repeat to yourself every day. When your inner dialogue changes, your actions change. When your actions change, your life changes. And suddenly, the impossible starts to feel within reach. You are not the critic in your head. You are the one who decides whether that critic gets to stay. Imagine the freedom of walking through life without the constant background noise of self-doubt. Imagine waking up and hearing encouragement instead of condemnation. Imagine becoming your own greatest supporter, your own motivator, your own source of strength. That is not a fantasy. That is the reality you step into the moment you decide that your inner voice will no longer be an enemy, but an ally. And when that transformation happens, no outside voice can break you because you have finally built unshakable peace within. Comparison is one of the quietest thieves of peace. It creeps in slowly, disguised as curiosity, but leaves behind emptiness and doubt. You look at someone else's life, their achievements, their appearance, their possessions, and in an instant, you begin to measure yourself against them. Without realizing it, you hand over your happiness to a scale that was never meant to exist. Every glance at someone else's progress convinces you that yours is not enough. Every scroll, every comparison steals a little more of your joy. The mind is not designed to handle constant comparison. Psychology calls this the social comparison trap, and it is one of the deepest roots of unhappiness. When you compare, you activate the part of your brain that constantly scans for threat and scarcity. You begin to believe that life is a competition where only a few can win, and you start to see yourself as perpetually behind. The problem is not that you are failing. The problem is that you are looking outward instead of inward. Your path was never meant to be identical to anyone else's. No two lives are the same, no two stories are the same, and no two destinies unfold at the same speed. Just as no two flowers compete in a field, your life is not meant to be a mirror of another's. One blooms in spring, another in summer, but both fulfill their purpose fully. The tragedy is when you look at another flower and think your season is wrong. Nothing could be further from the truth. Every time you compare, you rob yourself of gratitude, and gratitude is the soil where happiness grows. Without it, you will always feel like something is missing, no matter how much you achieve. Comparison blinds you to your own progress, to the growth you have already made, to the victories you once prayed for. It convinces you to overlook what is good in your life because it does not look like someone else's version of good. But real fulfillment comes from recognizing your own steps forward, however small they may seem. Freedom begins when you redirect your gaze inward. Instead of asking, "Why am I not like them?" ask, "How far have I come compared to where I used to be?" This shift transforms your energy. It breaks the cycle of lack and awakens the truth that you are already moving, already growing, already evolving. Progress, not comparison, is the real measure of success. When you stop comparing, you give yourself permission to honor your own journey. You begin to celebrate others without diminishing yourself. Their success no longer threatens you because you realize it was never taking anything away from you. Their path is theirs, and yours is yours. And both can coexist in beauty. That is the power of releasing comparison. It liberates you to run your own race without distraction. Imagine waking up and feeling content with your pace. Imagine looking at your reflection and seeing growth instead of lack. Imagine living free from the pressure of being someone else and fully embracing the person you are becoming. That is what happens when you eliminate comparison. Peace is restored, gratitude expands, and your energy is no longer wasted on what was never meant for you. Your life is not behind. Your life is unfolding exactly as it should, and the only person you need to be better than is the person you were yesterday. Your mind was designed for focus, for clarity, for presence. Yet in today's world, it is constantly hijacked by noise. Every ping, every notification, every endless scroll pulls you away from yourself. What feels like connection is often just distraction dressed as importance. Hours disappear, attention fragments, and your inner stillness is drowned under waves of digital stimulation. The tragedy is not just the time lost, it is the life lost in moments that could have been lived fully, but were surrendered to a glowing screen. The brain is not built to handle this flood of stimulation. Each swipe releases dopamine, a quick hit of pleasure, training your mind to crave more, yet leaving you emptier each time. The more you consume, the less satisfied you feel. This constant chase exhausts your focus and weakens your ability to be present. What should be a tool becomes a trap. And while technology can connect, it can also quietly enslave, robbing you of the silence where peace grows. Peace cannot be found in a mind that never rests. The nervous system, bombarded by notifications and noise, remains in a constant state of alert. Sleep suffers, creativity dulls, and anxiety rises. This is not weakness. This is biology. Your brain needs stillness to reset, just as your body needs rest to recover. Without intentional breaks, you are not just distracted, you are drained. But the moment you reclaim your attention, everything changes. When you silence the noise, even for a while, you reconnect with yourself. The fog lifts. Ideas begin to surface. Your body breathes deeper. You notice the world around you in ways you forgot were possible. This is the power of quiet. It does not demand, it restores. It does not drain, it refuels. You do not need to abandon technology to reclaim your peace, you simply need to take back control of it. Set boundaries that protect your energy. Create spaces where silence can live again. Give yourself phone-free hours, moments in your day where presence matters more than distraction. Choose to engage with your life instead of endlessly consuming the lives of others. This is not deprivation. It is freedom. The reward of eliminating digital noise is more than calm, it is clarity. You will sleep better, think clearer, and feel lighter. You will no longer live in a constant state of reaction, but in a state of intention. Every moment becomes richer because your mind is finally here, not scattered across 1,000 meaningless updates. Imagine the peace of waking up without the immediate pull of a screen. Imagine conversations where your attention is whole, not divided. Imagine creativity flowing again because your mind has space to breathe. This is not a dream. This is what becomes possible when you choose silence over noise, presence over distraction, focus over fragments. Your attention is the most valuable currency you own. Spend it on what strengthens you, not what drains you. Protect it as you would protect your most precious resource, because that is exactly what it is. When you reclaim your focus, you reclaim your life. And when the noise fades, what remains is the quiet strength of peace that was always waiting for you to hear it again. What surrounds you shapes you more than you realize. The space you live in is not neutral. It either supports your peace or silently steals it. Clutter is not just piles of objects or disorganized shelves. Clutter is a constant whisper to your nervous system that something is unfinished, something is chaotic, something is demanding your attention. You may think you have learned to ignore it, but your mind never truly does. Every item without purpose, every corner filled with excess, sends signals of disorder that keep your body on edge. Psychology confirms this truth. Studies show that cluttered environments elevate stress hormones, making it harder to focus, harder to relax, and harder to feel at ease. Your surroundings mirror your inner state, and your inner state mirrors your surroundings. When your environment is crowded, your mind becomes crowded. When your space feels heavy, so does your spirit. You cannot expect to find calm in your thoughts when the world around you is screaming chaos. But there is a profound freedom in letting go of what you do not need. Every unnecessary object you release is not just a physical act, it is an emotional declaration. It is saying, I no longer carry what weighs me down. I no longer need to hold on to things that belong to the past. I choose space, I choose lightness, I choose clarity. Clearing your space is not about deprivation, it is about alignment. It is about creating an environment that reflects the peace and growth you want to experience within yourself. Minimalism is not about owning less, it is about being owned less. It is about refusing to let objects control your energy, your time, and your attention. When you let go of clutter, you are not losing anything meaningful. You are gaining back the space to breathe, the freedom to move, and the clarity to focus on what truly matters. Your surroundings stop pulling you backward and start propelling you forward. Imagine waking up in a space that feels light, open, and intentional. No piles of distraction waiting to drain you. No silent pressure from unfinished mess. Just calm, just order, just peace. That feeling is not luxury, it is a choice. A choice to align your external world with the inner calm you are working so hard to create. And once you experience it, you will realize how much the excess was costing you all along. Your environment should fuel your energy, not consume it. It should remind you of who you are becoming, not keep you trapped in who you used to be. When you release what no longer serves you, you create room for new possibilities to enter. You make space for growth, for focus, for joy. The external and the internal are not separate. They move together. When one clears, the other follows. Do not underestimate the power of your surroundings. Change your space and you change your state. Clear the clutter and you clear the noise in your mind. Let go of the excess and you will finally feel what it means to live light, to live free, and to live aligned with peace. The freedom you seek begins in the space around you. and it is waiting the moment you decide to release what weighs you down. Fear of failure is one of the most suffocating weights the mind can carry. It convinces you to stand still while life moves forward without you. It whispers that trying is dangerous, that mistakes will define you, that falling short is proof of weakness. And so you wait, you hold back, you silence your potential in exchange for the illusion of safety. But what is the cost of that safety? It is the slow erosion of your dreams, the quiet decay of your spirit, and the heavy regret of a life unlived. The human brain is wired to avoid pain, and failure feels like pain. It threatens the ego, shakes identity, and activates the same parts of the brain that process physical danger. That is why the fear feels so real, so overwhelming, but avoidance only makes the fear stronger. Every time you retreat instead of step forward, your brain learns that fear wins, and slowly, without realizing it, you build a cage around yourself, made not of walls but of hesitation. Yet failure itself is never the enemy. Failure is feedback. Failure is information. Failure is proof that you were brave enough to try. Growth does not happen in comfort. It happens at the edge of your limits, and the edge will always feel uncertain. The people who rise are not those who never fall. They are those who fall and rise again. Each stumble strengthens resilience. Each setback teaches wisdom. Each failure builds the foundation for eventual success. Reframe the meaning of failure, and everything changes. Instead of asking, "What if I fall?" ask, "What will I miss if I never try?" Instead of seeing mistakes as proof of weakness, see them as evidence of courage. The truth is, failure does not take from you, it gives to you. It gives you clarity about what does not work, it gives you resilience to try again, and it gives you the strength to endure what once terrified you. Imagine how your life would look if you no longer feared failure. Imagine the projects you would begin, the risks you would take, the dreams you would pursue with full force. The gap between where you are and where you want to be is not ability. It is the fear of falling short. But courage is not the absence of fear. Courage is moving while fear is still present. And every time you act in spite of fear, its power weakens. Failure is not final. What is final is never starting. What is final is letting fear dictate your choices until there is nothing left of your true potential. Do not let the voice of fear bury your calling. Do not let hesitation rob you of the experiences that shape growth. Stand at the edge, breathe, and take the step. Even if you fall, you will rise with more than you had before. The life you want is on the other side of fear. The growth you crave is hidden in the places you are most afraid to go. Do not waste your strength protecting yourself from failure. Use your strength to embrace it, learn from it, and transform through it. Let failure be your teacher, not your prison, because once you stop fearing it, nothing in this world can stop you from rising into the fullness of who you are meant to become. Procrastination is one of the most subtle yet destructive habits you can hold on to. It feels harmless in the moment, a small delay, a simple choice to wait until later. But each delay accumulates into a mountain of wasted time, wasted energy, and wasted potential. The task you postpone does not disappear. It lingers in the back of your mind, creating pressure, guilt, and a sense of unfinished business that drains you far more than the work itself ever could. The psychology of procrastination is rooted in how the brain values the present over the future. It tricks you into believing comfort now is worth more than growth later. It seduces you into chasing temporary ease at the expense of lasting fulfillment. This is called temporal discounting, the mind undervaluing tomorrow's reward in exchange for today's relief. But the cost of that relief is steep. Every time you postpone, you train yourself to trade long-term peace for short-term escape. The weight of procrastination is heavy because it steals not just time but trust. Each time you break a promise to yourself by delaying action, your confidence erodes. You begin to doubt your own word, to question your own discipline, And when you no longer trust yourself, you lose the foundation of all growth. That is why procrastination feels so exhausting. It is not laziness, it is self-betrayal repeated again and again. The way forward is not to wait for the perfect moment, because the perfect moment never comes. The way forward is to act in small steps, to break the cycle with movement, however imperfect it may be. Action generates energy. Energy builds momentum. Momentum creates clarity. The task that once felt impossible becomes lighter the moment you begin. Psychology calls this the Zeigarnik effect. Your brain feels tension around unfinished tasks, and the only way to ease it is to start. Even the smallest beginning releases the burden. Think about how many dreams have been lost, not because people lacked ability, but because they kept waiting, waiting for motivation, waiting for courage, waiting for the right time. But life does not wait. Each day you hesitate is a day gone forever, a piece of your story left unwritten. The truth is, the pain of discipline is temporary, but the pain of regret lasts a lifetime, and regret is the heaviest weight of all. Imagine what would happen if you stopped delaying and began now. Imagine the progress you could make in a week, in a month, in a year, simply by refusing to postpone what matters. The gap between who you are and who you want to be is not as wide as you think. It is crossed by consistent action, one step at a time. You do not need to be perfect. You only need to begin. Your future self is watching you from a distance, hoping you will move, hoping you will choose action over hesitation. Do not let them down. Do not let procrastination steal another day of your life. Every time you act, you reclaim your power. Every time you push forward, you build trust with yourself again. And once you begin to trust your own word, there is no limit to what you can create, achieve, and become. Start now, because the time you think you have later is disappearing with every heartbeat. Negativity is one of the most corrosive forces you can allow into your life. It seeps into your thoughts, your emotions, and your energy until it shapes how you see the world and how you see yourself. When you hold on to negativity, whether it comes from your environment, from other people, or from your own mind, you unknowingly create a filter that distorts everything. The smallest setback feels overwhelming, the tiniest challenge feels unbearable, and opportunities slip away because negativity convinces you they are impossible. The human brain has what psychologists call a negativity bias. It is wired to notice threats and dangers more strongly than positive experiences. This helped our ancestors survive, but in modern life, it becomes a prison. Instead of protecting you, it keeps you locked in fear, doubt, and constant stress. You may not even notice how much it influences you because it hides behind thoughts like "I'm just being realistic," or "I'm only preparing for the worst." But reality is not built by negative expectations. It is built by the energy you choose to carry and the perspective you choose to feed. Negativity grows stronger when you give it attention. Every time you replay a past failure, criticize yourself harshly, or complain about circumstances, you reinforce the very state you wish to escape. Neuroscience shows that neurons that fire together wire together. This means the more you indulge negative thoughts, the stronger those patterns become in your brain. Over time, they become automatic, and you begin to believe that your negativity is simply who you are. But it is not who you are. It is only a habit of thought, and habits can be broken. To eliminate negativity, you must first become aware of it. Notice how quickly you fall into complaining, how often you expect the worst, how easily you judge yourself or others. Then interrupt the cycle. Replace the thought with one that empowers you. Shift your focus to gratitude, to solutions, to what you can control. Even a small shift rewires your brain toward resilience. This is not about pretending everything is perfect. It is about refusing to surrender your mind to patterns that keep you small and stuck. Negativity also comes from people who drain your spirit. You know who they are, the ones who criticize your dreams, magnify your doubts, or fill conversations with fear and gossip. Keeping them close poisons your growth. Protect your energy by limiting your exposure, setting boundaries, and surrounding yourself with people who lift you higher. Your environment is stronger than your willpower, and if you remain in a toxic atmosphere, even your strongest efforts will wither. But when you choose to cultivate a positive space, your strength multiplies. Life will always present challenges, but negativity does not have to be your response. You can train your mind to see setbacks as lessons, obstacles as opportunities, and struggles as preparation for greater strength. This shift does not deny reality, it transforms it, because reality is not what happens to you, it is how you interpret what happens to you. When you replace negativity with resilience, you free yourself from the chains of hopelessness and step into a state of inner peace that no circumstance can steal. Your growth depends on this choice. Negativity will always be available, but so will hope, courage, and faith. You decide which one defines you, and when you choose to eliminate negativity, you discover a freedom and clarity that allows you to create, to rise, and to live with the strength that was always within you. Comparison is one of the quietest thieves of joy, yet it has the power to destroy confidence, peace, and growth if left unchecked. When you measure your life against someone else's, you rob yourself of the very uniqueness that makes you valuable. You convince yourself that their success diminishes yours, that their progress exposes your lack, that their light makes your own dimmer. But the truth is, the light of another person can never reduce yours. It only reveals how much brighter you could shine if you stopped looking outward and started looking inward. Psychologists call this social comparison theory. It explains how humans naturally evaluate themselves against others. It is meant to help us learn and adapt, but when misused, it breeds envy, insecurity, and discontent. The endless stream of images, achievements, and highlights from other people's lives fuels the illusion that you are falling behind, that you are not enough, that everyone else is living the life you should have. But what you see is never the full picture. You are comparing your struggles to someone else's best moments, your behind the scenes to their highlight reel. This is not truth. This is distortion. Comparison keeps you stuck because it shifts your focus from progress to perfection. Instead of celebrating how far you have come, you focus on how far ahead someone else appears to be. Instead of valuing your growth, you diminish it because it does not look like theirs. This constant measurement destroys momentum. It turns each step forward into a disappointment because it is never good enough compared to what someone else has achieved. But progress is not about being better than others. It is about being better than who you were yesterday. The more you compare, the more you disconnect from your own path. You forget that you have different gifts, different struggles, different timing, and a different purpose. Life is not a race with one finish line. It is a journey uniquely designed for each individual. Your timeline is not broken. Your pace is not wrong. Every chapter you are in is preparing you for the next one. But comparison blinds you to this truth and convinces you that you are lost when in reality you are exactly where you are supposed to be. To break free, you must shift your focus back to yourself. Replace comparison with self-reflection. Ask not, how do I measure against them? But how do I measure against the person I was before? When you honor your own progress, no matter how small, you reclaim your power. You realize that growth is not about keeping up. It is about rising steadily, authentically, and at your own pace. Celebrate others without diminishing yourself. Their success is proof that success is possible, not evidence that you have failed. Let their victories inspire you, not poison you. When you cheer for others, you create space for your own wins to arrive without bitterness. Gratitude and self-acceptance leave no room for envy. Your worth cannot be measured by comparison because your journey cannot be lived by anyone else. The moment you let go of measuring your life against another, you step into freedom. You begin to see your own potential with clarity. You begin to value your own progress with pride. And in that moment, you stop living as a shadow of someone else and start living as the fullest expression of yourself. That is where peace begins, and that is where true growth becomes unstoppable. Clutter is not just the mess that surrounds you, it is the silent weight that presses on your mind, drains your energy, and keeps you trapped in a cycle of distraction and disorder. Every unnecessary item you hold on to demands a piece of your attention, whether you realize it or not. Each pile, each drawer filled with what no longer serves you, whispers quietly that something remains unfinished. And that whisper turns into noise that steals your focus, your calm, and your ability to breathe freely. Psychological research shows that clutter increases stress by overwhelming your senses and keeping your brain in a constant state of low-level tension. It creates visual chaos, reminding you of tasks left undone, of decisions avoided, of energy stuck in the past. Even when you try to focus on your goals, clutter pulls you back. It is not just physical, it becomes mental, emotional, spiritual. It is the hidden anchor slowing you down when you want to move forward. When you clear clutter, you are not simply organizing things. You are releasing yourself from the unnecessary. You are telling your mind and body that you are ready for space, clarity, and renewal. Minimalism is not about living with nothing. It is about living without what no longer adds value. Each object you remove is a decision to create room for peace instead of pressure, for clarity instead of confusion. Clutter also takes the form of digital overload. The endless notifications, the scattered files, the constant stream of information you never truly need, all of it fragments your attention and weakens your ability to be present. Studies show that humans now have shorter attention spans than ever before, and digital clutter is a major reason why. To free your mind, you must free your space. To focus deeply, you must eliminate the noise that fights for your attention at every moment. Letting go can be difficult because possessions often carry emotional weight. You hold on to them because they remind you of the past, because they represent who you once were, or because you fear you might need them one day. But the truth is, holding on to what no longer serves you keeps you tied to what no longer exists. The past is gone, and your future cannot unfold if your present is crowded by what belongs behind you. Releasing clutter is not about losing. It is about gaining back your energy, your focus, and your freedom. Imagine walking into a space where everything has a purpose, where nothing distracts you, where you feel light instead of heavy. That feeling is not just aesthetic, it is psychological. It gives you control over your environment, which in turn gives you control over your mind. When your space is clear, your thinking sharpens. When your space is ordered, your spirit feels stronger. Start with one small step: a drawer, a corner, a folder on your phone. Each act of clearing is an act of reclaiming power. With every item released, you affirm that you are not your past, you are not your possessions, and you are not dependent on clutter to feel whole. You deserve space to breathe, to grow, to rise, and that space is already available to you the moment you let go of what no longer belongs. Release the clutter, and you will feel lighter. Release the excess, and you will find peace. Release the noise, and you will discover that what remains is exactly what you need to move forward with strength, clarity, and purpose. Overcommitment is another silent enemy of peace, one that disguises itself as productivity, ambition, or even kindness. On the surface, saying yes to everything may feel like growth, like opportunity, like being responsible. But in reality, it drains your energy, divides your focus, and scatters your power across too many directions. When you live stretched too thin, you are never fully present in anything. Every task becomes rushed, every promise becomes heavy, and every day ends with exhaustion rather than fulfillment. The psychology behind overcommitment often comes from the fear of disappointing others, or the belief that your worth is tied to how much you can do. You may think that saying yes earns love, respect, or validation, but what it truly earns is depletion. Every yes you give to something unimportant is a no you give to something deeply important. And over time, your dreams, your rest, your health, and your joy pay the price for the endless yeses you hand out without thought. Research shows that chronic overcommitment leads to burnout, a state of mental, emotional, and physical collapse that can take months or even years to recover from. Burnout steals creativity, kills motivation, and numbs your sense of purpose. It convinces you that life is only about surviving instead of thriving. And the saddest part is that most people who burn out arrive there because they care too much about pleasing others and not enough about protecting themselves. The truth is, boundaries are not selfish. They are necessary. A life without boundaries is like a house without walls. Everything and everyone can come in, leaving you unprotected, drained, and vulnerable. Boundaries protect your energy, your time, and your focus. They allow you to give your best where it truly matters instead of scattering pieces of yourself everywhere until nothing is left. Saying no does not mean rejecting people. It means choosing to live with clarity. It means honoring your capacity, valuing your energy, and recognizing that your time is the most precious resource you own. When you learn to say no to the wrong things, you finally create space to say yes to the right things. You create space for rest, for creativity, for health, for growth, and for relationships that truly matter. Imagine the weight lifted when you are no longer drowning in obligations that mean nothing to you. Imagine how much more powerful your yes becomes when it is intentional, when it is aligned with your values, when it comes from a place of strength instead of guilt. Every no you say to what drains you is a yes to what builds you. Every no you give to distractions is a yes to focus. Every no you speak to unnecessary demands is a yes to peace. Your life was not meant to be a constant rush, a never-ending checklist, or a battlefield of obligations. It was meant to be purposeful, balanced, and free. And that freedom begins the moment you decide that your worth is not measured by how much you do, but by how fully and authentically you live. Choose to protect your time, protect your energy, protect your peace. Eliminate overcommitment, and you will reclaim the power to live with focus, strength, and intention. Excuses are the invisible chains that keep you locked in place while convincing you that freedom is impossible. They disguise themselves as reasons, but in truth, they are defenses built to protect comfort and avoid growth. Every excuse whispers a lie, that the timing is not right, that you are not ready, that your circumstances are too difficult, that others have it easier. These lies feel safe because they absolve you of responsibility, but they also strip you of power. As long as you believe your excuses, you surrender your future to them. The human brain is skilled at creating justifications that feel convincing. Psychologists call this cognitive dissonance, the discomfort that arises when your actions do not align with your goals. Instead of changing behavior, the mind often rewrites the story to reduce the discomfort. This is where excuses are born. They ease the tension temporarily, but in exchange, they keep you stuck in the very patterns you claim you want to escape. They comfort you in the short term while silently stealing your long-term potential. Excuses are dangerous because they sound reasonable. I don't have the time. I'm too tired. I'll start tomorrow. Each one feels logical, but stacked together, they form a prison. And unlike external barriers, this prison is built from within. You are not trapped by your lack of time, money, or opportunity. You are trapped by the belief that your excuses are valid. The moment you see them for what they are, walls of your own making, you realize that you have always held the key. The antidote to excuses is ownership. Ownership means refusing to give your power away to circumstances. It means choosing responsibility over blame, action over delay, discipline over comfort. Life will never hand you perfect conditions. There will always be obstacles, always be reasons not to act, but growth belongs to those who act despite the obstacles, who move forward not because it is easy, but because they refuse to stay stuck. Eliminating excuses requires honesty. You must ask yourself hard questions. Is the reason I give truly immovable, or is it fear disguised as logic? Is this barrier real, or is it simply my unwillingness to step into discomfort? Most of the time, the truth is not that you cannot, but that you will not. And facing this truth is painful, but it is also liberating, because once you admit that excuses are choices, you regain the ability to choose differently. Imagine what would happen if you replaced every excuse with action. If instead of saying, I don't have the time, you used the time you did have. If instead of saying, "I'll start later," you started now. Small actions, repeated consistently, dismantle the walls of excuse until nothing stands between you and the life you desire. Your dreams do not need excuses, they need commitment. Your future does not need reasons why not, it needs reasons why yes. Every moment you delay, you teach yourself to settle. Every time you move despite the excuse, you teach yourself to rise. Which lesson will you choose to live by? You were not created to live behind barriers of your own making. You were created to rise above them. Excuses will always whisper, but they have no power unless you listen. Silence them with action, and watch as your life transforms from limitation to possibility, from hesitation to momentum, from delay to destiny. Toxic relationships are among the heaviest weights you can carry, yet they are often the hardest to let go of. They drain your energy, distort your self-image, and keep you tied to cycles of pain that prevent you from rising into your true potential. Whether it is constant criticism, manipulation, or the subtle erosion of your confidence, these connections take far more than they give. And the longer you stay entangled in them, the more you begin to confuse toxicity with normalcy, believing that struggle and chaos are the price you must pay for love or loyalty. Human beings are wired for connection. Neuroscience shows that our brains are deeply shaped by the relationships we maintain. Healthy connections strengthen resilience, lower stress, and fuel growth, but unhealthy ones do the opposite. They trigger anxiety, heighten self-doubt, and flood your body with stress hormones that weaken both your mind and your spirit. The people you surround yourself with are not neutral. They are either building you up or tearing you down. There is no in between. The danger of toxic relationships is that they chip away at you quietly. At first it may seem manageable. A harsh word here, a broken promise there, but over time it becomes a pattern. You find yourself adjusting your behavior to avoid conflict, silencing your voice to keep the peace, or shrinking your dreams so they no longer threaten someone else's insecurity. And without realizing it, you begin to lose pieces of yourself. You forget your worth. You accept less than you deserve. You mistake endurance for strength when true strength is knowing when to walk away. Letting go of toxic relationships is not about anger or revenge. It is about self-respect. It is the recognition that you cannot heal in the same environment that made you bleed. It is the decision to prioritize your peace over their approval, your growth over their comfort, your future over their presence. It does not mean you stop caring. It means you stop allowing care to cost you your spirit. This choice is not easy because toxic relationships often bind themselves with guilt, obligation, or fear. You worry what will happen if you leave, how others will see you, or whether you are strong enough to stand alone. But standing alone is always better than standing with those who poison your soul. Solitude is not emptiness. It is space for healing, clarity, and renewal. And from that space, you will attract the kind of relationships that reflect the respect, love, and light you give to yourself. Your environment is the soil in which your life grows. If the soil is poisoned, your roots cannot deepen and your branches cannot spread. But when you eliminate the toxins, when you plant yourself in healthy ground, you flourish. You rise stronger, brighter, freer. You discover that love should not suffocate. It should support. It should not belittle. It should build. It should not drain. It should empower. You do not need permission to release what harms you. You do not need to justify protecting your peace. Your life belongs to you, and your energy is too precious to be wasted on people who cannot see your value. The moment you let go of toxic relationships, you reclaim your power. And once that power is yours again, no one can take it from you. You become unshakable, unstoppable, and aligned with the kind of connections that will help you rise to everything you are meant to be.